For some shooters, a holster is a critical piece of equipment. If your interest rather in handguns has to do with hunting or purely recreational shooting, the holster isn't quite as important. For those two applications, the comfort that the holster provides in carrying the firearm for you, and of course the security it provides in keeping the firearm safe, are the most important aspects of the holster. However, if your interest in handguns has to do with self-defense and you are carrying a handgun for self-defense, the holster takes on a whole new level of importance, and a lot of characteristics of the holster that don't apply to hunting or recreational shooting do become important. If you're carrying a gun for self-defense, the handgun itself is the tool that makes the self-defense possible. However, it's the holster that makes it possible for you to have that tool, that handgun, with you when you need it. If you're carrying a handgun for self-defense, you're probably carrying it concealed. And a handgun carried concealed is very dependent upon a good quality holster to provide a number of attributes that allow you to access and use that handgun effectively. Primary among these attributes is the security that the holster provides to your handgun, so the handgun doesn't fall out when you sit down or you run or you're going through your daily life. The holster, of course, has to conceal the handgun very well. You don't want it to print, obviously, through your clothing. And the holster has to make that handgun reliably and consistently available to you from the same spot every time, so that when you are going for that handgun in an emergency, it's right there and you can get to it effectively. Our friends at DeSantis have provided us with a wide variety of holsters to show you for this holster segment of this program. Now, DeSantis is an interesting company. They're well established, they've been making holsters for a long time, and they know how to make them properly. They make just about every kind of holster that there is. So no matter what gun you have or how you want to carry it, you can probably find a holster that will suit your needs very well at DeSantis. DeSantis makes real good holsters. Their holsters are high quality. They're also reasonably priced. And you put those two things together, and what you wind up with is a very high value, a lot of bang for your buck, as it were. And finally, DeSantis is a really innovative company. They have originated many of the designs that are on the market today. There are a number of jobs that you want a concealed carry holster to do. Perhaps first is you want it to carry the gun securely. When the gun is on your hip or wherever you're carrying it, you want it to stay there and not pop out. When I sit down, I don't want this gun to be catching on things and popping out. If I have to run, I don't want the gun to pop out. In fact, I want the gun to be in the holster securely enough so that if I turn it upside down and jiggle it, the gun doesn't fall out. So you want the holster to hold the gun securely. At the same time it's holding the gun securely, you want it to provide ready access. It needs to be in a convenient place for you to reach and get to that gun in an efficient amount of time. You also want your concealed carry holster to conceal the gun well. You don't want it flopping so far out from your body that it goes right through your clothes and people can see the outline. In fact, you want the holster to bring the gun in fairly tight to your body and hold it tight to your body so that it conceals the gun as well as possible. Additionally, you want your concealed carry holster to carry your handgun comfortably. If it's not comfortable to carry your gun, you won't. Now, comfort just doesn't mean that standing here, the gun doesn't feel too bad. It doesn't mean you're just standing on the range and while you're shooting, it doesn't seem to bother you in any way. It means comfortable throughout your daily life, whatever your daily life entails. If you're driving a lot, you want it to be comfortable. If you're walking around or running a lot or you're in odd positions, you want the gun to be comfortable. So comfort is very important. If the holster isn't comfortable to carry the gun with, you won't carry the gun. You want your concealed carry holster to cover the trigger when the gun is in the holster. And the reason for that is when you go to withdraw the gun from the holster, although your trigger finger should be away from the trigger, if the trigger wasn't covered and you made a mistake and you went to draw the gun out and your trigger finger was on the trigger, you could very easily shoot yourself while the gun is in the holster. The gun's in the holster is next to your body, you're probably going to wind up shooting yourself. You also want to be able to acquire a full firing grip on this handgun before it comes out of the holster. That is, a full firing grip while the gun is fully seated in the holster. For instance, this holster allows me to do that when I withdraw the gun from the holster you can see I have a full firing grip here. I don't need to make any adjustments to my grip. I'm already set. And all I need to do when I want the gun to go off is to move my finger from its safe register position onto the trigger and pull the trigger. A useful feature for concealed carry holster is the ability to reholster the gun once it's out of the holster using only one hand. And in order to do that, the holster has to remain open. It can't come shut once the gun is removed. For example, with this gun that's on my hip, if I had the gun out, I was shooting, whatever I was doing, and I wanted to reholster, what I don't want to have to do is reach around with my other hand, mess around with this holster trying to open it to put the gun in, because when I do that, I'm probably going to cross myself with the muzzle. Plus, I'm tying up my other hand. I want to simply be able to come with one hand, my gun hand, and put the gun back where it belongs in my holster. Notice how well molded this holster is to this gun. This close fitting is a desirable feature on a concealment holster because it allows the holster to hold the gun securely. For instance, on this thumb brake holster, even with the thumb brake broken, it keeps the gun in the holster quite well if I was running or something. However, when the gun is pulled in the proper direction, in the direction that the gun is meant to come out of the holster, it comes out very easily. So, good fitting is a desirable feature in a concealment holster. The belt that carries your holster on your person is a very important part of your holster or your carry system. A common mistake that a lot of people will make when they go to buy a holster is they'll buy a good holster like this, and then they'll carry it on some flimsy, cheap belt that they've already got at home. Well, a proper gun belt is a proper gun belt because it's designed and made to support the weight of the gun and carry it in that holster effectively. A proper gun belt has to be fairly torsionally stiff. To accomplish that, it's usually made with a couple of layers of leather and sometimes with a reinforcing material between the layers of leather. You also want the width of your gun belt to be very close to the length of the slots, if not exactly. For instance, this is a 1.5 inch belt. These are 1 3/4 inch slots on this holster, and that's okay. It would be even better if this is a 1 3/4 inch belt and it matched these slots exactly. However, if this was a 1 1/4 inch belt, so there was a 1/2 inch of difference, that would be too much. That would allow this holster to slop around on the belt and not stay in a fixed position, not stay stable, not make the gun as readily accessible as you want it to be. To illustrate what you don't want to do, I'm wearing this holstered handgun with a fairly thin and flimsy belt. Because it's thin and flimsy, it doesn't grab the holster as well as it could, and it allows the holster to slide around like this. Now, that's not particularly good because when I go to draw this gun, the gun may not be where I want it to be. It also allows the gun to shift into a less comfortable position from where I intended it to be. Also, because the belt is thin relative to the slots, it allows the holster to shift around like this rotationally. Again, putting it into a less comfortable position and not keeping it in the position that I want to draw it from, that I'm used to drawing it from. The flimsy belt also allows the slightly heavy handgun to flop around in this manner. Again, making it uncomfortable and perhaps flopping out enough that it prints through my concealing garment, letting people know that I'm carrying a gun. So a proper gun belt, one that is stiff and mated to the holster that you choose to carry, is a critical and often overlooked piece of your total carry system.